Hello, you're watching Building a Better South Africa Together. My name is Nzinga Qunta. Thanks so much for being with us. In July 2023, 115 CEOs came together and pledged their continued commitment to South Africa. They were set out to find a way to bring South Africa back to a path of progress. And in order to do that, you really need collaboration. You need the private sector, you need the public sector, small and medium enterprises, civil society, and you and I. So over the course of the next few weeks, you're going to be speaking to people from the business community, from government, from small and medium enterprises, and so much more to really try and figure out how do we get to the kind of South Africa that we want to see. Our first guest is Themba Mkhwanazi. He's Anglo American's Regional Director for Africa and Australia. Thank you so much for your time on Building a Better South Africa, Mr. Mkhwanazi. Just why is a company like Anglo American involved in this initiative?
For us, the purpose is to play our role in influencing the creation of an environment, or enabling environment, I should say, to make this country successful. And we also see that the pathway through that is better collaboration, a collaboration approach where people put their self-interest aside and work together with a bias for action. Because in many instances, we sit around the table and we talk and we talk and we talk, but we don't actually execute, which obviously is the opportunity here. And at the core of it for us is when you look at the potential that South Africa has, whether it's the natural resource endowment, the positioning of what we have from a renewables perspective, if you consider sun, the wind, and also solar. And then also when you then think about the demographic dividend that this country has, with a very, very young population. Then on the flip side to that, you then look at the reality, high unemployment, particularly youth at about 67%, some of the largest income or wealth disparities in the world. We really have an opportunity here to do something great in terms of making, our country a success. So this is quite important for us and our role in playing that role. And of course, we've identified 3 key priorities which are related to energy security, logistics, and also crime and corruption.
So I'm assuming those are the things that are blocking us from achieving and unlocking this potential of this incredible South Africa that you just described.
Yeah, look, I think there are many things that are issues, but when we've sat back and we've said, what are the things that are really going to be key and critical when you distill everything? Because there are all sorts of other issues, but these, we believe, if we can put priority to these will make a significant difference. Okay. So, for example, energy supply. This talks to, the impact on the economy, but also investor confidence, both internally and externally to the country. Similarly, when you think about logistics, this is about, manufacturers, miners like ourselves, being able to ship our goods to markets, and the impact that has on revenues, which ultimately, has an impact on the fiscus and the taxman. And then, of course, if you have an environment of high crime and corruption, that doesn't bode well for, stable communities. And it also, talks to, the moral fabric of society at large.
Yeah. Just let's zoom into the crime and corruption aspect, and then maybe the conversations that you've been having around the other challenges that you've identified, or the blocks that you've identified: logistics, energy, and crime and corruption.
Sure. So, with crime and corruption, we have been working through BLSA, and again through this initiative around how do we better, capacitate and support the National Prosecuting Authority. We have also equally worked with business against crime. And there again, there are effectively several areas of collaboration. For example, one of them is really around how do we step up the capacity around forensic services, because this obviously is quite important, as you solve for crimes that lead to effective prosecution. We're also looking at, the use of technology as well, and in particularly around, how you prevent crimes as well, and again, our role in that process as well. The other key element around the crime and corruption are what we call the priority crimes, like cable theft and the illegal mining. And again, we know the impact that has, in terms of the infrastructure and the security as well of our communities. So those are just a flavor of some of the pieces of work that we're doing in the space of crime and corruption. And of course, through the Business for South Africa, there's a commitment that it is one of the pillars or work streams where we also have, participation, from an industry perspective in terms of the work that committee is doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's the importance of the corporate sector in South Africa working alongside and together with government?
So government is a key stakeholder. The other element is that when you look at the level of government's participation in the economy, it's quite high at about 45%. And hence, when there are challenges, particularly around state-owned entities, we feel it in terms of the overall economy. Hence, the challenges that we've had with energy, the challenges that we've had with logistics. So it's therefore important that if we want to, establish an environment where we have a thriving economy that creates jobs, that also addresses, the ills of poverty and the ills of inequality, right? We have to work together. There's also the element as well of what we bring to the party. And again, we bring as business a different perspective. There are some challenges with capacity, within government as well. And again, having that collaboration where we bring our strengths as a collective to solve the challenges and the issues that we have is extremely important, and hence the reason why it is incumbent that we work together for the success of our economy and ultimately the success of our country.
In the interventions and identifying what the challenges are and how to deal with them, collaborating with the private and public sector as well as civil society, how do you know and track progress and tangible progress, both as the people who are involved and maybe those of us also who are sitting at home interested in what's taking place?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's the commitment that we as part of the industry have, as part of business, I should say, have made. So we are one of the 115 signatories of CEOs in terms of that commitment, not to be bystanders, but to be working with government. So I think that's really important. What's also different this time around is that a lot of this work is largely driven through the presidency, which effectively means that we have a far more integrated approach in terms of how we are actually tackling these matters, because it's not just one government department, it's a number of government departments that are being obviously brought together through the presidency. Then the other thing as well then is that we have these work streams or committees for crime and corruption, for logistics, for energy, and within that there are work streams. And when you look at the caliber of the people who are sponsoring at a business level, as an example. So, for example, in relation to energy, we have Sisnolita Fagute, who's one of us, part of that there. For the logistics, we have Mpumi Zikalala, who's our CEO for Kumba, who runs that as well. And then, of course, for the crime and corruption, even though we are not at a business sponsor perspective in terms of that committee, we play our role in terms of our engagement with the NPA through our senior leadership who are involved in that. So you've got that, but then you've got the work stream leads as well. And then the idea is that these three committees, there will also be a committee specifically designed to track and monitor progress. And of course, this is being led by Kas Kovadia, who we all know is the CEO of one of the, I think it's Busa. So that group will be tracking and making sure that we have traction, we are seeing progress, which then should allow the public to get a better indication. But I also think as well that some of the announcements that are going to be made in the public in terms of progress, in terms of addressing some of the key issues that have been identified in these three crisis committees, will also give the public and everybody else confidence that we are moving in the right direction on these matters.
Themba Mkhwanazi, the Regional Director at Anglo American for Africa and Australia, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for this conversation. All right, and so that's where we leave it for now. But when we come back next week, we're going to focus on the issue of the economy that Mr. Mkhwanazi brought up, and really how do we fix that? I'll be joined by Rudy Dix from the presidency. He's going to give us insight into what plans there are to deal with South Africa's ailing economy.